So, hi everyone, welcome in. We'll just give it a moment while everybody's coming in from the lobby. So, you're very welcome to join us here this evening for our webinar on working with children, families, and communities here in TU Dublin. Just so you know, this session will be recorded. So, for any of the information that you want to go back on, you will receive a recording of this session, so you'll be able to view it back. And for those who can't stay for the whole session as well, you'll get a copy of the recording. So you may notice that our conversation chat is currently closed at the moment. So that will be opened after our last presenter has presented and just before we meet our fantastic student ambassadors. So we just ask that you keep your question in mind until the chat is open. And at that point, then you can add it in and our staff and students will be happy then to answer them towards the end of the session. Or alternatively, if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable asking in the chat, we will share the contact details for you to follow up via email afterwards. So today you're going to have a quick introduction to who we are in TU Dublin for those who don't know us that well. You'll then get an introduction to our programs from my colleagues here from the School of Social Sciences. And then you get a chance to meet some of our student ambassadors who are undertaking the programs before our Q&A session. And you'll also notice on screen there's a QR code. So many of you will have gone to our website in order to get some information about maybe the different programs or found the link to this webinar. And we're currently just running a review session of our website and how we can make it more user friendly. So to be in with a chance to win €50 gift card, you can scan the QR code there and leave some feedback. So who are we in TU Dublin? So TU Dublin is Ireland's largest technological university, and we offer programs from apprenticeship right up to PhD level. So it means you can continue your studies and your academic journey with us right the way through. We were also Ireland's first technological university, so you may have previously known us as DIT, IT Tala, and IT Blanchardstown. You can see there we're made up of 3,500 staff and 27,000 students. And while that seems like a lot of students, you will find that we have the most amount of CAO courses for a university. We have 146 programs on the CAO. So that means that student body is spread right across all those programs, so the class sizes still remain small. And we're also a very diverse community with students from 138 different nationalities. And as you're about to see, we have 5 different locations across Dublin. So we have 5 different campuses. So why would you choose to study in TU Dublin? So the first one I mentioned was those small class sizes, and you'll hear about that today, where you're getting the chance to know your lecturers one-on-one. You're not just a number in a crowd of students. You get that personalized time and access to your academics, to your supervisors, to ask any questions, to get any help with anything you may need. We're Ireland's first technological university and well recognised internationally, so you can take your degree anywhere with you. And very most importantly, what makes us unique is we're practice-based. So that means you get an opportunity to not only just learn in the classroom, but also to apply those skills that you're learning. So it's fantastic to have those skills going into the workplace then to set you aside from other graduates. We have a long tradition of academic excellence and well recognised by our employers that we partner with and different industry representatives. And again, you're going to hear about that today, the different industry placements you can do on our programs. So again, a fantastic opportunity to network and to build your CV before you even graduate. We have the ladder of progression from level 6, 7s onto 8s. So again, maybe the day of your leaving cert, your results don't go to plan. You don't get the points that you think you're going to require to get in. But we ask you to consider putting down also the level 7 option, which gives you that progression pathway into the level 8 program. So you'll see there are many different doors in to help you graduate. We also have the access admission scheme. So for those who qualify for the Here and There programs. So if you are presenting with a disability or you're coming from a deaf school or a socio-economic disadvantaged background, keep an eye on those as well. They give you additional supports. And we have a variety of scholarship opportunities, our most popular one being our sports scholarship program. And we recently held a webinar on this for our elite sports program. So you can watch that back on our website if you think it's something that may apply to you. So you'll see there, so we're in great standing as a technological university with many others widely recognised around the world. such as Gdańsk University of Technology, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the University of Ontario, so many world globally recognized technological universities. Our campus locations, as I mentioned, we have 5 different locations. So we've 2 slightly outside the city centre, those being Blanchardstown and Tallaght, and we've 3 in the city centre, Angel Street, Bolton Street, and Grangegorman. The most important thing we'll ask you to remember is to make sure you apply to the location that you want to study on. So especially the programs we're talking about here today, where a program is delivered on different campuses, if you really want to go and study in Blanchardstown, make sure that is your first option. And then if you want to have Tallaght or City as your backups, you can put them down. But just make sure when you're selecting those CAO choices that you're conscious of what location you're selecting, because whichever one you're offered, that is where your place will be. There's our ladder of progression system, as I mentioned, going from your ordinary degree into your higher honours degree. So depending on the program, it can be a year 3 into a year 4 or a year 3 back into a year 3, depending on the different modules matching up. And our disciplines then, as I mentioned, we have 12 different disciplines housing 146 programs. And the discipline that these programs today sit under is our social science and education discipline department. But also outside of your studies, we have lots of other interesting areas of student life for you to consider when making your choice on where to study. And 2 of our most important are our sports and leisure clubs and our societies. So whether you play sports at just as a hobby, whether you want to start a new sport as a beginner, or whether you want to upkeep your sport that you're already playing at a high level, there's something for everyone. We've nearly 40 different sports clubs, again, across our 5 different locations. And you'll see a selection of them below there. We have sports such as boxing, sailing, GAA, swimming, skiing, football, basketball, so many different sports for you to try. And it's a great opportunity for you to meet students outside of your program and to build other relationships. And again, another exciting aspect of student life. And if sports isn't your thing, we have a number of societies. We have nearly 100 societies in TU Dublin. And there's probably, if you're thinking of a society, it probably already exists. And if not, our Students' Union are always there and happy to support you setting up a new one. So you'll see some examples there. We've dance, chess, circus skills, DJing, astronomy, sign language, media, religious, political. We even have a tea drinking society where they meet up just to socialize, drink tea, and just make new friends. So again, another fantastic opportunity to integrate into student life. And what you should know as well is with our 5 different campuses, once you're a member of TU Dublin, you can use any of our facilities. So if you choose to study in the Blanchardstown campus, but the Tallaght campus is closer to home, you can go into Tallaght, use the student gym, use the student library. Your one student card will get you access to all of our facilities. You'll see there as well a number of student support. So as I mentioned in the beginning, you're not just a number in a sea of students, you're an individual, and we know that every individual has different needs to be catered for. So we have all those different supports to help you with all aspects of student life. We have a career guidance centre who will help you with your CV preparation, your LinkedIn. They often do professional headshots. We have free healthcare, so whether you need to see a doctor or nurse, if you need your vaccines, you're feeling under the weather, need an antibiotic, you can pop in to visit them. We have our finance and accommodation services for those who need support in those areas. We don't have any of our own on-site accommodation, but our accommodations office does help with finding private rental accommodation and those where we have block booked in different student hubs. And as well, we understand that the transition from school or back to education as a mature, or maybe you haven't studied in college before, can be quite daunting and overwhelming. And it's a whole new way of learning. And we have both our Maths Learning Centre and our Academic Writing Support Centre there to help support you through your journey. They do group sessions, one-on-one sessions, drop-ins. So whether maybe you're struggling with something in class, or maybe you need help with an assignment you're just not understanding, or you need to just learn how to academic reference, they are there to help you. And as well, we have the disability service and the counselling service who offer a range of different student supports. And all of this information and anything else you may be looking for related to your journey as a student in TU Dublin, you'll find under our CAO hub. So that's tudublin.ie/CAO. And you'll find everything from whether you're mature or you're entering through the QQI route or as a leaving cert, whether it's here and there you need, our access programs, our scholarship, or maybe when it comes to accepting your offer and you're not ready to start or you need to defer, there's even a section on deferred entry. So all of that information is available there in one easy location. Now, at this point, I'd like to thank you again for joining us, and I would like to hand you over to my colleague Shirley Donegan, who's going to speak to you about our community youth development programs. So over to you.
Thank you, Megan. And hello, and welcome to everybody who has joined us. And my name is Shirley Donegan. I'm the Programme Director of the Community Development and Youthwork Programme in TU Dublin. It's run exclusively on the Blanchardstown campus. So that's where we're based and where we run out of. So what I'm going to do is give you a kind of an overview of our programme, what it is that we do and stuff like that. And anything that I haven't covered in the presentation, please feel free to add into a question and come to them at the end, if that's okay. So we have two different levels of courses. A level 7, which is an ordinary degree, and a level 8, which is an honours degree. Our courses are run exactly the same, so both the ordinary degree and honours degree classes are taught in the same classroom. The only difference really is the access points. So the level 7, TU 792, tends to have lower points for access onto the course, and it's run through for 3 years. But if after finishing those you want to go ahead and complete your honours degree, you'll see at the bottom there we have TU 999, which is an add-on level 8. So that's a 1-year programme, which brings you up to an honours degree after you've completed your level 7. And the level 8 degree is straight through 4 years to an honours degree. Our course is an applied course. And what that means is over the course of your studies, you'll also do placement experience, which means that you spend 2 full semesters on placement in an organisation, one in a community development organisation and one in a youth work organisation. So you get an opportunity to apply your learning from class to the sector that you're hoping to go into. You get to experience what those sectors are and test your skills and your experience in it. And what that means is that our students generally then are find it a little bit easier to apply the theory to the practice, to understand what they're learning in classroom and how that relates then to what it is like in the work environment. And it's a really useful thing, regardless of where you end up studying or what you end up doing. If there's a placement element in it, it means that at the end of your studies, you also have a good idea of what it is that you want to do and potentially a couple of good references from doing well in your placements. So it's always a useful thing to look at when you're considering what you're going to study further. We also have 2 professional endorsements. So we're endorsed by the All Ireland Endorsement Body, which is the standards body for community development. And we're endorsed by the North-South Education Training Standards Board, which is the endorsement body for youth work. And what they mean essentially is that when you graduate from the course, the sector accepts that you're graduate or you're educated to a specific level enough to deliver community development or youth work at that higher level, because we've run through those endorsement programs as a course, which means that we do all the hard work, but you get the benefit. So we keep up to date with sector developments, with ensuring that we're checking our content, and it gives us an opportunity to update every now and then as well. So at the end of your 4 years, if you've done things well, you leave with your shiny degree, 2 good references from your placements, and 2 professional endorsements for community development and youth. Okay, so very often if you're looking through your CAO choices, you'll see that community development and youth work often appear together. They are 2 very different disciplines, but they share similar values. So both of them work on the premises of equality, of participation, of social justice, of human rights, etc. Community development works primarily with marginalised and disadvantaged communities and helps them to try and effect some form of positive change within their own circumstances by supporting them to do that. And youth work is a little bit more defined in terms that it qualifies us to work with people from 10 to 24. And the difference in youth work is the approach. So it's a positive approach to working with young people to support them through that kind of time of great change and transition. So between 10 and 24, there's a lot of changes in terms of movement from interdependence to independence, from biological changes in terms of puberty, from kind of trying to understand who you are and what your identity is, what it is that you believe in. All of your values and beliefs are kind of formed around those times. And we look at all of those things when it comes to youth work. So they share a lot of similar principles, although they are very different. And you'll come to understand the difference in those as you progress through the course. But basically, they both aim to support people to effect positive change within their own lives. We work in partnership with the people that we work with, which is what makes us a little bit different from other professionals that work with either young people or communities. It's a voluntary relationship, so our young people choose to engage with us and choose to come and work with us. And if they're not there by choice, then it's not youth work. We kind of tend to have a mutual respect within the people that we work with, and we work in partnership with people rather than having a hierarchical system. I find, as a youth worker myself, that it's a really positive way of working with people, and the approach to it is about building people up, about increasing their own capacity to be able to control the things that happen within their own lives. So basically, our course is underpinned with the principles of social justice, equity, human rights, and participation and inclusiveness. Next slide, please, Megan. So when you study with us, we have a broad range of modules. So obviously, community development and youth work are quite varied and quite broad. And because of that, we tend to do a lot of modules which help us to understand the lived experience of young people or disadvantaged communities and what kind of things that they might be facing. So we do things like sociology so that we can understand the environment and the world that the people that we work with are engaged in, and how that impacts and the different systems that they're involved in impacts on them. And we also do a lot of psychology, which helps us to understand human behavior and how people think. We do culture, because culture is an increasing element of how to understand people and their values and beliefs and stuff. And then there's a range of other things that are mixed in there. So we do addiction modules, we do human rights modules, we do the basic academic modules to build up your skills in that area, because you're only learning in terms of those things. And a range of other things. So it's a nice generalized course, which means that you pick up knowledge in a lot of different areas, and then can hopefully specify a little bit more when it comes to your placements and where you go for them. We hope that you could expect a lot of learning as well, not just in the modules. I find that as we progress through 4 years, our students learn a lot about themselves, about the world and about other people, and how to work with people. You will hopefully leave a very different person at the end of the 4 years than you were when you came in. And that means that you've learned and you've grown in that way. And if you haven't, then we haven't done our job sufficiently. I can't promise that you'll have all the answers to all the questions, but I can almost guarantee that you'll be asking better questions. In the classroom, we use a mix of teaching methods. So we'll do a lot of different things. We do discussion, we do lectures, we do presentations, we do guest speakers, we do practical classes, we do put on a human rights conference in third year. There's lots and lots of different things to get involved in. And in the same way, we try to vary kind of assignments so that you're not doing only essays or things like that. There'll be stuff like presentations, there'll be practical demonstrations, there'll be essays, reflections, all kinds of different things which will help you to increase your skills and kind of find out where your particular strengths lie within those. So it appeals to kind of a lot of different learning styles. If you're not good at academic writing, then you might be really good at presentations. And we build up our skills by going through those in those ways. But we also mirror a lot of the disciplines that we use as a youth worker. So a lot of the techniques that I might use in class would also be things that I will use with a youth group when I'm working with them. And that way you get to kind of learn by doing, learn by seeing, and learn by testing things out. As well as that, through the course, we do field trips out to youth projects, and we go to visit projects in Belfast, projects around Dublin, so that you've stood in a youth project or a community development centre and you understand what it is that they do and you hear it from other people apart from us. We do placements. So like I said, you do 2 placements, 2 full semester placements, one at the end of year 3 or 2 and one at the end of year 3. So you get an opportunity to practice your skills, to develop your understanding of what it is things do, and maybe even narrow down what it is that you'd like to do. So as far as classes go, like Megan said earlier, we keep classes sizes quite low. So even if there's 70 in a lecture, we still do tutorials and they're in groups of 20 or less. So we get to know our students really well. And when we get to know our students well, we get to understand how it is that they learn best. And that helps us to kind of grow together over the course of 4 years, I suppose. And then the final thing is, as far as our graduates, there's lots of work out there at the moment in the youth work sector for sure. And other places. Our graduates are working in places like probation centres, drug rehabilitation centres, youth services, community development programmes, family resource centres, some charity organisations or government organisations like environmental agencies, and a range of different things. So things are looking quite good at the sector at the moment in terms of employment. So you'll not be stuck for work if that's what you're looking for. So any questions that you have, make a note of them and we'll take them later on. And I'm going to pass over to Helena now, who's going to talk to you about the social care problem.
Thank you, Shirley. Hi, everyone. My name is Helena Doody and I'm the head of social care in TU Dublin. So just a quick thing around what is social care. People often ask, what is it? And basically, it's the provision of care, protection and support and advocacy for vulnerable people. It's working in collaboration with the service users to see how best they can achieve the best possible life for them. So it's working in conjunction with service users, but not unlike youth and community studies too, working with people. Okay, do you want to go to the next slide? So if you were looking up for social care on the CAO, it can be sometimes a little bit confusing because you will see 4 social care programs listed. They all lead to the same qualification. They're all approved by CARU, and CARU is the Health and Social Care Professions Regulation Body. So all of the graduates are able to register with CARU as a social care worker upon successful completion of the programme. In Blanchardstown, the code is TU 791, and that's Applied Social Studies in Social Care, and that's a level 7 programme. And the level 8 programme is the same, Applied Social Care, Social Studies in Social Care, and that's TU 991, and that's the level 8. And like Shirley said, both groups attend the same classes, study together, go on placement at the same time. It's just the level 7 will leave after year 3 with their level 7, register with CARU, and the level 8s go on. But like that, if you decide that, just want to commit to 3 years, I don't want to commit to 4, and you successfully complete the level 7 after 3 years, you can progress into year 4 to complete your level 8. And likewise, if you're doing the level 8 and you decide after 3 years, I'm done, I've had enough, I've got my qualification because it's the level 7 that's required to work in social care and register with CARU, well, then you can also take that award. The programme in Tala is called Applied Social Care, and that's TU 997, and that's a level 8 programme. Again, if after 3 years you decide that you want to exit and take your level 7, you can. You don't have to stay for the 4th year. And in Grange Gorman, it's called social care, and it's TU 996. That's a level 8 program delivered over 3 years. So that's the only difference within them. You get a level 8 over 3 years, where in Tallaght and Blanchardstown, it's over 4 years. There aren't any exit awards as such there, because the minimum requirement is the level 7. And the difference between them is the Grange Gorman program is a little bit more intense. There's a little bit more self-directed learning expected from the students. And it's kind of just a bit more intense, and it has higher points to access the program. That's kind of the difference between them. Okay, Megan, do you want to move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so like Shirley said, very similar to the Youth and Community program. Each year has 2 semesters. There's 6 modules taught in each semester. Again, the continuous work assessment, project work, essays, presentations, and then some end of semester exams. And exams are usually held in January and again in May. There's lots of different ways that tutorials and lectures are held. You'll have a large group of within lecture, and then you have an opportunity to go into smaller groups around tutorials and maybe ask some questions or dig down into the theory more. There's also a bright space and online learning too at times. Okay. Again, like Shirley said, all students complete 2 practice placements in all the social care programs. They're full semester, and some have a day release. So in Tallaght and Blanchardstown, in year 2, from September to December, you go on placement and you complete 400 hours in a social care setting. And we, as in the university, set up the placements for you with around the areas you're interested in and locations, etc. The Grange Gorman campus has what they would do a day release, where students would go out on a Thursday and Friday, but they attend college Monday to Wednesday. So that's how you achieve the minimum 400 hours practice placements in year 2 and in year 3, which equates to 800 hours placement, which is the requirements for Carew. Students must be Garda vetted in advance of going on placement, and placement is an integral part of the learning process. I call it the aha moments and the light bulb moments, that sometimes you're sitting in a class and you're listening to theory and you're thinking, what has this got to do with social care? And then you go out and it all comes around together and you go, aha. And I love seeing the students when they come back in their midway with their aha moments, where they realize that the theory that they thought might be boring or might not be relevant actually has applied in their placement. So it's a really key part of the programs, and most of your learning before you go out on placement is setting you up so you're ready and you're equipped with all the tools you need to go out on placement and work in social care. Next slide, please, Megan. So our social care graduates, they work in lots of different services, residential services for children and elderly people. They work in disability services. They work in addiction services. They work with anybody who's marginalised or disadvantaged. They work with homeless people, refugees, unaccompanied minors. There's lots and lots of different areas that people go into, and I've been in social care for over 30 years, and I'm always hearing of new areas that social care workers are working in. So I can tell you one thing, you'll never be bored. Okay, next slide. So with placements, we would speak to our students to see what type of social care service you're interested in, because it's so vast. Some people are interested in disability services. Some people are interested in women and children's refuge. Some want to go into TUSLA and children's services. Some are interested in homeless services. And there's just an ongoing list of organisations that take our students on placement. And as Shirley mentioned earlier, they're often offered relief work or part-time work at the end of placement if they've achieved and done well. They're often offered part-time employment or relief employment by the time their placements finish. Go to the next slide, please. So we do offer postgraduate progression. So when graduates of the level 8 program often progress to master's degree, which is a level 9 in a range of disciplines within TU Dublin. there's an MA in Child, Family and Community Studies. There's a MA in Criminology in TU Dublin. Some go on to do social work in different universities, and some have gone on into education through social care, which I did myself, and I did a HDIP in Adult and Community Education, and a Master's in Adult and Community Education. So I suppose it's just to highlight that there's a broad range of careers available with these qualifications, as is with the Youth and Community Studies. If you've got a level 8 in any programme, you can progress into many, many different areas if you choose to do a master's. And often students would say, I'm never going back to college again. I'm getting my level 8 and I'm hitting the road. And then they miss education, and either they go straight on to something on a level 8, or they come back in the future and decide maybe to try a different strand. So there's lots of postgraduate progression opportunities available to our graduates. Next slide, please, Megan. Okay, so I'll stop talking. I'm going to introduce you to Naomi. And Naomi is a year 4 student, almost there now at this stage, Naomi, on the Blanchardstown campus. So I'll just ask you a couple of questions, Naomi, that I think maybe our participants might be interested in hearing. So we'll go with the positives first. What's the best part about the course?
So for me, right, in first year, I got the opportunity to go on a day trip with students that come in and study from a Vista. They are students with an intellectual disability, and there's a course that they do on the Blanchardstown campus, and they had a day out, so I got to do that. The 2 placements, I got to work in a domestic violence service and a mental health hospital, and they were really interesting, and I have since gained employment in the domestic violence service. So that was very positive. That was my 2nd year placement. And as well, going out on the field trips. This year we got to see Oberstown Children's Detention Centre. That's another place that social care can bring you to as well. Other positives in the course, I suppose the smaller class sizes were mentioned as well by both yourself and Shirley and Megan. So the smaller class sizes are really good, that if you're struggling with anything, you can approach a lecturer and ask them questions. Everybody's very approachable. They all know us now over the last 4 years. So walking across campus, all the lecturers, which is really positive as well. And the good support that's there. There's the academic writing centre as well, which is really good.
Okay. And so maybe we'll go to the opposite. What was the most challenging part of the course?
I think first year, because the days are quite long in first year, and it's an awful lot of theory, but I suppose that's where you reap the rewards, as you said, the aha moments when you go into 2nd and 3rd year on your placements. But like first year can be quite tough because it is a lot of theory and a lot of learning. The mandatory attendance for me, I struggled a little bit in one semester, because the core regulations, which are really important, you have your mandatory attendance of 80%. So one semester I struggled after having surgery and family problems with children. But other than that, I was okay. I met the 80% because I had been there all the time.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Naomi. That is an important part of the social care programs. So due to Carew regulation, there are certain practical modules that have an 80% attendance, which isn't in youth and community. So that's something to consider. It helps, it assists in the learning, but it's there. And if somebody falls below the 80%, then sometimes it can result in having to repeat, or maybe do a piece of work to make that up, to make up for the attendance. But if you go below 50% attendance, you have to, it's mandatory repeat. So I'm glad you mentioned that one, because it is important key consideration for people who are thinking of coming to study social care. Okay, maybe one more question from me. Why TUD?
For me, TUD, Blanchardstown it was a no-brainer because it's close to me. I'm a mature student. I have children that go to school locally, so Blanchardstown was perfect for me. TUD, because at the time when I applied, they were one of the only universities that had the CORU approved course. But since over the last 4 years, there's so many supports that are available to students, and I think I've used every single one of them. There's a massive amount of support in the university, and you know that the lecturers and the other staff, the support staff, just want you to succeed.
Yeah.
So I think that was the bonus, the icing on the cake.
And the other thing that the students comment regularly about in both programs is that the lecturers have hands-on experience. And Megan mentioned it in her introduction. We're an applied program, so therefore you get the placement experience, but also your lecturers have worked in social care. They've been on the front line. They've worked in community, youth and community, and they have real life examples of how theory applies to the profession, and how you would manage a situation that you might come across in a work placement. So I think that's something that we pride ourselves on. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Shirley and Josh. You're on mute, Shirley.
Thanks very much. We are just trying to guess what it is that people might have in terms of questions or what might be useful to you. So we'll go through a couple of these, and then anything further, please ask in the chat. So if you want to start, Josh, by telling us why you chose community development and youth work as somewhere that you'd like to study.
So I previously would have attended a different course, and I left that and took a year out and decided I wanted to go back. So I found this course, and I previously would have attended youth clubs growing up as a kid, and the youth workers were really a big inspiration to me, and really had a big role to play in my life. And I decided I wanted to be, that's the role I wanted to take and the career path I wanted to follow. And I also found this course quite distinct to other courses and other career paths. The values of youth work, such as including this voluntary participation, empowerment of young people, respect for all young people, really aligned with my own values and beliefs. And I decided I'd apply for it. But it's really nice. No two people have come into this for the same reasons. Everybody comes from a very different background, various backgrounds. And it's really nice.
That's great. Thanks very much, Josh. So you're a little bit into the course now. How have you been finding it so far?
I've really enjoyed the course so far. So I'm only in fourth year at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. It can be quite challenging at times, especially when assignments are coming up, exams are coming up in the next few weeks. But if you try your best and put in the work, it really is manageable. The lecturers are really very supportive and very approachable. If you have any issues at all, they're always there. You get to know them very well as well over the year. The class as well is very close, and they're very supportive as well. So the practical aspect of it as well, I really have enjoyed. We've been facilitating activities in some classes. So we've been engaging and learning stuff that we'll bring forward into placement now in second year. Field trips have been I've really enjoyed this semester so far as well. What I didn't know really as well coming in was how much you learn about yourself. I've really learned a lot about myself, my own values, my beliefs. I've read a lot of my beliefs and ideologies have really changed as well coming into this. It's been really nice.
That's great. Thanks, Josh. So if you had to, like Naomi had, choose what was the best part of the course so far and what you found the most challenging? What would those be?
So I'd find the trip up to Belfast was probably my favourite part of the course so far. We went up and we visited a youth centre up there and a community development organisation as well. And just seeing sort of how it is working in these organisations on a day-to-day basis, hearing their story and the history of the organisations was really interesting. And also seeing sort of how different but similar as well it is working in Youthwork or community development in other parts of Ireland. I really enjoyed that. The most challenging part has probably been getting used to the academic writing and preparing presentations. It's been quite difficult, but we do have a whole module on sort of how to do this. And again, the lecturers are very approachable and are very supportive, and will support you through it as much as they can.
Yeah, well, it's important to know that when you're joining a course, you're learning all of those things as well. So you're not expected to have a specific standard as such. Hopefully we learn as we go through. And final question then from me, Josh, if you could go back to when you were filling out your CAO choices and you're starting college again, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
The advice I'd give myself this time last year would be to just go for it, apply for the course, because you won't regret it, you really will enjoy it, and then just try to enjoy every minute of it, because it is a really unique course and it is very good, it's very interesting and it's very enjoyable. So just try your best and you can do it.
That's great. Thanks very much, Josh.
Thank
That's
you.
all from us.
Can I just come in there? Just it might be useful for people. So TU 997, TU 791 in Blanchardstown, the points there was 281 for last year. TU 991 was 303 points. TU 996 was 363 points, and TU 997 was 300 points. So just to give you an idea of what the cutoffs were from last year.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Helena. And if you still have questions, please do pop them into the chat. But also, if you have a question and you're not comfortable asking it in the chat, or you would like to speak directly with the schools in relation to anything you may have. So for community and youth, you can contact Shirley directly there, shirley.donegan@tudublin.ie. For our social care programs, you can contact the School of Social Sciences at tudublin.ie. If it's a specific questions around admissions, maybe mature or QQI or CAO based questions, you can contact us on either admissions@TU Dublin or courses@tudublin.ie, where your query will be directed to the relevant parties there. So there are all those channels for you to use to contact us. We would also like to inform you as well, we do have a session on tomorrow at lunchtime on our student services, another webinar, if you would like to join that, or if you can't join us live, if you want to register and receive the recording link to it. And it will go through in more detail all our accommodation, our finance, our different student sports that we have available in the university, and that's open to everyone, no matter what program you have applied to or whether you're still making your decision. And also, it's a great chance to remind people that the CAO Change of Mind also opened at 12 o'clock lunchtime today. So if you haven't already mentioned the programme on your CAO, you have from now until July 1st at 5 p.m. to update your CAO choices there. I would like to remind you to put it as your first choice as your number one preference. So if it's the program you really want, make sure it's up there in your first preference. And that goes for both the level 7 options and the level 8. So as you've heard from both Helena and Shirley, you have those options there to do the ladder progression, and there is the slight difference in points. So to keep your options open, please do add both options. And on the day of offers, you will get a level 7 offer and a level 8. So you may even get accepted into both programs, and then it's up to you to make the decision which pathway you think is most suitable for you at the time. And if you have any questions, again, in relation to CAO or applications or anything like that, you can contact the admissions office there. So I'm not sure, guys, is there questions in the chat there, Helena?
Yeah, we've managed most of them, but one there that you might be able to answer is somebody said they've applied and what's the next step. So the round offers, can you go through the round offers with people? I can't remember dates.
So I don't have them off the top of my head there now because I'm on a single screen, but they did come out. So I'm sure David can drop a link in the chat there to the CAO offers. It's on the CAO website. So I know the Leaving Cert offers come out the end of, the Leaving Cert results come out the end of August, if you just bear with me, on the 22nd. So that will make the round offers on the 27th of August. But for anybody who has applied as a mature or a QQI, those round A and round O offers will be out earlier in the summer. And those timelines will be up on that CAO website now. They literally only released the dates there on Friday evening. So we're still just getting around to communicating them out. So in the meantime, they just have to wait patiently on those rounds to come out. And
So
if they have issues, they can contact us.
Yeah. Okay, another question there. For work experience in applied social studies, could you do a work placement within a youth centre? So the criteria for doing a placement in social care is that the organisation has to be able to facilitate you to achieve proficiencies, which are key learning skills, and that there's a qualified social care worker there to supervise you. So it's possible if there is a qualified social care worker there to supervise the students on placement. That's the criteria. A couple of people asking, do they source their own placements? We source the placements for all students due to Carew requirements and regulations. We link in with the students to see what type of area they're interested in, where they live. We're not going to send them hundreds of miles away. So we try and get a placement that's suitable for all students. And just to bear in mind, the two placements have to be very different. So if you do your second year placement in maybe a disability service, you have to do your third year placement in something different, whether it's homelessness or children's residential services or something like that. But because social care is such broad spectrum of professions, of areas to work in, you'd never be stuck trying to find something that's different to what you've done in your other placement.
No, you can't do your placement at your workplace.
No, you can't. They're 400 hours, 400 hours placements, 800 in total, and it can't be in your place of work because that's a conflict of interest. Okay, somebody asked, you answered that, Shirley. Yeah, so the timetables can be students can be timetabled Monday to Friday 9 to 5, and that's due to lecturer availability, classroom availability. So you have to be available to attend full time. They are full-time programs.
On that, Helena, we'd say to point people towards the course pages. You can go in and look at the sample timetables from this academic term. So it might give people an insight into how the timetable looks for year 1, 2, 3, and 4. But those timetables are obviously subject to change and are not the same every year. So we tell people don't start planning around based on last year's timetable if you've got childcare or you've got travel arrangements to make. But it will just give you an insight into how the timetabling kind of works.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody asked about mature student. So we have always have a large base of students that apply as mature students. Each campus has an allocated mature student allocation. For example, City take about 9 students as mature students. Tala take about 13 or 14, and Blanches take about 16. So it's all in relation to the intake in each program, how many students are allocated to mature students. Because we have such a demand for social care places on the mature students, we've about 450 applications for those numbers of students that I've mature places that I've just mentioned. So what the fairest way to do it is that we shortlist based on a level 5 or a level 6 qualification in social care or a related field, and having 3 or 5 distinctions. So in City and in Blanchardstown and Tala, you have to have 3 distinctions. And in City, you have to have 5. And that's because that's a more condensed program and higher points. And there's also some requirement to have some experience in social care, which you should have if you've done a level 5 or 6. There should be some kind of a placement piece in that. And then there's an interview. So yeah, that's at the moment we're working through our mature student applications, and those who have been shortlisted for it will be invited for interview in June.
It might also be worth noting that social care and social work are different courses.
Yeah.
So what we offer in TU Dublin is social care.
Yeah.
Just
not
for
social
when
work.
you're filling it.
Yeah. Social work is a bit different. So just.
There's one there on the 80%. Somebody's
No,
asked,
there's no
is it
blended learning.
We're
No.
on campus all the time.
Yeah. We currently don't have any blended learning. All lectures are on campus, and as I said, can be timetabled across the full week.
And again, it's a discipline that works with people,
Yeah.
so you need to be face to face practicing, and some
Yeah.
of that is done in the classroom.
Yeah. The exact time around Garda Vetting. So what we do with Garda Vetting is when students are registered, they're inducted, they get into the start attending classes, and within the first couple of weeks, we start the vetting process. That's what we do. We have a Garda Vetting liaison officer, and he engages with the students with that, and that's how vetting starts, and it's completed in the first semester. It's youth and community Carew. Shirley will answer that. It's got 2 regulation, but not Carew.
No, we're not Carew. Carew is social care only. Youth work and community development are different disciplines. We have 2 professional endorsements, which are given from sector experts to show that you're educated to a certain standard to deliver both community development and youth work. But they're not legislative, so they don't come with the same requirements as Carew does in terms of mandatory attendance and some of the other confinements that are put on social care as a result of Carew. So our endorsements are from the sector and recognised in the sector, but they're not a legislative requirement.
Thank you. And then the other question there I see is, I just finished with social care level 6. How many distinctions do we get into TUD? The minimum is 5 distinctions, but because there's so many applications, you could have somebody who has 8 or more, and they would score higher. But it's a minimum of 5 and an interview. Then that's the process there for City. Another question there: 450 mature applicants for 9 places in Grange Gorman. No, 450 applicants across all social care programs.
I think at that stage, if we've no further questions, as we mentioned, they can reach out by email if they have any further questions or need to speak directly with anybody. We thank everybody for joining us this evening and all our fabulous speakers for giving their time. We hope to see everybody soon in September in TU Dublin across all of our campuses and all of our programs. So
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone. Thanks.
Cheers, guys.